Welcome to today's deep dive. When you hear the word biohacking today, you probably picture like a tech billionaire plunging into a freezing ice bath at 4 in the morning.
Right, or someone obsessively tracking their REM sleep with a titanium ring.
Exactly. We have this whole current cultural obsession with optimizing the human machine. We just want the perfect morning routine to make us totally invincible.
Yeah, but it is a very modern fixation. I mean, we tend to treat the body like a piece of hardware that just needs the right software update to run flawlessly.
Right. But what if the ultimate, like, hyper-specific, most intense startup sequence for the human body wasn't actually written by a modern CEO? What if it was written centuries ago?
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today.
Yeah, today we're exploring this ancient text called the Ashtanga Hridayam. And specifically, we are diving into a chapter by a Karya Vagbhata called Dinacarya, which basically translates to the daily regimen.
It's a fascinating piece of work.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Because this text is it's essentially a systematic manual for your entire existence.
Yes.
We're talking about a document that dictates the exact length of your toothbrush, the spatial orientation of your bathroom habits, and even why scratching the dirt aimlessly is fundamentally destructive to your physical health.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the foundational mission of Ayurveda, which this text is really a cornerstone of, is fundamentally preventative.
Right.
The stated goal is maintaining positive health in healthy individuals and then treating the diseased. It's a system constructed around achieving an absolute equilibrium,
So equilibrium meaning?
meaning balancing the body's three primary humors, or doshas. So there's vata, pitta, and kapha. And you balance those along with the tissues, the waste products, and the mind.
Wow.
Preventive care isn't just a lifestyle choice here. It is literally the primary biological strategy for survival.
So if we are looking at this as like a pre-flight checklist for the human body, the logical place to start is the actual startup sequence, right? Waking up. Naturally.
Yeah. The text states that a healthy individual must wake up during Brahma Muhurta. And it doesn't just say, wake up early in the morning.
No, it's highly specific.
Super specific.
Yeah.
The commentators did the math on this 14th Muhurta of the night, and it works out to exactly 96 minutes before sunrise.
Roughly 4:24 a.m.
Right, 4:24 a.m. That level of precision suggests they were tracking something biological, right?
Mhm.
Not just arbitrarily picking an early hour. What is the significance of that exact 96-minute window?
Well, it has everything to do with the atmospheric shifts that occur just before dawn and, how our internal biological clock synchronizes with them.
Okay.
In Ayurvedic terms, this specific pre-dawn window is dominated by Vata.
And Vata is?
Vata is the principle of motility. It basically governs movement, the nervous system, and the clearance of waste.
Got it. So by waking up during this high Vata period, you're essentially catching the physiological wave that promotes the downward movement of elimination. You're leveraging the environment's natural momentum to, kickstart the body's internal motility.
That makes a lot of sense. But there is a very pragmatic caveat here that I found interesting.
Oh, about being sick.
Yeah. The text explicitly says this 4:24 a.m. rule is to protect the life of healthy people. If you are sick or if your digestion is compromised from the day before, you are instructed to just ignore the rule.
Right. You listen to your physician and you sleep in.
Exactly, which tells us that these rules are not moral imperatives.
No, they are physiological tools. I mean, if your body is fighting off an illness, your metabolic energy is directed inward for repair.
Right, you don't want to waste it.
Exactly. Forcing the system to boot up at 4:24 a.m. would demand energetic resources that you simply don't have to spare. So the regimen adapts to the state of the system.
Okay, so assuming you are healthy and awake, the immediate next step is eliminating natural urges. And the text emphasizes never forcing it and never suppressing it. Yes, that's crucial. Because suppressing these urges vitiates or corrupts that Vata energy you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, which the text claims is the root cause of numerous diseases.
And oddly, this is the part that kind of threw me. It specifies you must face north in the morning and south at night while eliminating.
Yeah, it sounds strange to modern ears. But we have to view this through the lens of spatial and somatic awareness.
How so?
Well, the act of elimination isn't just a mindless bodily function here. It's an intentional engagement with your environment.
Oh, I see.
Orienting yourself to the magnetic poles forces a moment of conscious grounding before you even begin the physical cleansing of the day.
Which brings us to the actual physical cleansing. Teeth cleaning, or dentadavana. This is where the text makes modern dentistry look like incredibly casual.
It really does. You can't just
Well,
grab a plastic brush.
no. You are required to use a twig from specific plants, like the Arca or Kadira plants. And it has to be exactly 12 inches long, the circumference of your little finger, perfectly straight and completely devoid of any nodes.
The structural requirements are practical. I mean,
Yeah,
you need a reliable, safe tool that won't splinter and damage the gums.
sure.
But the chemical requirements of the twig are where the real science lies.
Right, because the text mandates that the twig must taste pungent, bitter, or astringent.
Yes.
It strictly forbids using anything sweet, sour, or salty to clean your teeth. You use this bitter twig, you apply a paste of honey and specific herbal powders like tricatu and triphala, and you have to brush the lower row of teeth
We'll
first.
use the lower first, yeah.
Why this intense focus on bitterness and astringency? I mean, modern toothpaste is usually sweet or minty.
Well, think about the biological function of those tastes. Sweet and salty tastes promote the growth of tissues and, by extension, the growth of bacteria.
Oh,
Yeah, they increase kapha, which is this structural, lubricating, mucus-heavy force in the body. Astringency, on the other hand, physically constricts tissues.
so it's shrinking things down.
Exactly. When you apply an astringent, bitter substance to the gums, it acts as a mild vasoconstrictor. It literally squeezes out stagnant blood and fluid, tightening the gum line, while the bitterness acts as an antimicrobial agent.
That's amazing.
You are chemically creating an environment that is totally hostile to decay.
Okay, that makes perfect biological sense. But the contraindications for brushing your teeth are what really caught my attention.
The indigestion rule.
Yes. The text forbids you from brushing your teeth if you are suffering from indigestion, vomiting, a cough, or a fever. Why on earth would brushing your teeth be dangerous if you have a stomach ache?
Well, in modern allopathic medicine, we often compartmentalize the body, right?
Yeah.
You go to a dentist for your mouth and a gastroenterologist for your stomach.
Right.
But Ayurveda views the entire alimentary canal, from the mouth all the way to the anus, as one continuous, highly communicative tube.
Okay, a continuous tube.
So if you have indigestion or you're vomiting, your digestive tract is inflamed. And the normal downward motility, that vata energy, is compromised or literally reversing direction.
So the system is essentially moving backward.
Exactly. And the root of the tongue is a powerful neural trigger. When you introduce strong, stimulating astringent tastes and mechanically scrub the mouth, you are sending intense stimulating reflexes down the vagus nerve and throughout that entire gastrointestinal tract.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. If the stomach is already in a state of chaotic reversal, triggering those upper digestive reflexes can exacerbate the nausea or completely disrupt the delicate attempt the body is making to stabilize digestion.
Wow.
The mouth is a control panel for the entire digestive tube. You don't mess with the wiring when the mainframe is crashing.
That is wild. You are managing systemic inflammation before you even think about external hygiene. That completely shifts how you view something as simple as brushing your teeth.
It changes everything.
So, once the mouth is addressed, the regimen shifts focus. We transition from preparing the digestive tract to filtering the sensory inputs.
Right, moving up the head.
Yeah, we move methodically around the major organs of the head. First, the tongue is scraped using curved, unsharpened metals like gold, silver, or copper to remove foul tastes. And then we get to eye care, or anjana.
This is a really vital step.
You apply a collyrium, specifically an antimony sulfide, every single day. And the text claims this makes the eyes clean and capable of seeing minute objects.
It's a profound understanding of ocular health. The eyes are organs of light perception. In Ayurvedic terms, they are governed by teyo, or the fire element.
Fire. Okay.
This means they are highly metabolic and incredibly prone to overheating.
But the text says because they are fiery, they are actually prone to a kapha imbalance, which confused me a bit.
Right, that is the paradox. Kapha is the water and earth principle. It governs mucus, lubrication, and stagnation.
So water versus fire.
Exactly. When the fiery metabolic organ of the eye gets stressed, the body responds by producing excessive protective lubrication, which is kapha. This manifests as crust, cloudiness, or heavy, tired eyes.
Okay, so how does the antimony sulfide help?
The daily application acts as a very mild, calculated irritant. It triggers a controlled lacrimation. Basically, it makes the eyes water just enough to flush the ocular surface.
Oh, like a windshield wiper fluid.
Precisely. Constantly clearing away that stagnant kapha so the tejo, the sharp visual processing, can function unimpeded.
And once a week, you do a deeper, stronger application to really clear the system out. Then immediately after the eyes, The regimen moves to the nose.
The nasal drops.
Yeah, you administer nasal drops using a Nutella oil, which the text says keeps the shoulders, neck, and chest strong and the voice sweet. Following the drops, you move to gargling.
And this isn't just a quick swish of mouthwash.
No. The text outlines two distinct types. There's Gandusa, where you hold the liquid totally still in the mouth, and Kavala, where you actively move it around. And the instruction is to hold this liquid until watery discharge physically flows from your eyes and nose.
It is a rigorous process. I mean, holding liquid still in the mouth Gandusa relies heavily on osmotic pressure.
How does that work?
If you are holding a dense liquid like medicated oil or honey, its osmotic gradient is different from the inflamed, congested mucous membranes of your cheeks and throat.
Ah, okay.
It physically draws stagnant fluid and toxins out of the tissues into the oral cavity. You hold it until the pressure and the osmotic pull force the surrounding sinus cavities to literally weep.
Which sounds incredibly intense. And the moment you spit that out, you move on to smoke inhalation, Dhumapana inhaling medicated fumes to relieve ear, nose, and throat diseases.
Yes.
Finally, to freshen the breath, you chew a specific mixture of betel leaves, areca nut, and slaked lime. But only if you don't have a bleeding disorder or internal dryness, because the betel is a circulatory stimulant.
Right. You wouldn't apply a harsh stimulant to an already depleted or hemorrhaging system.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It is not just a list of unrelated tasks.
No, not at all.
The text mandates a rigid sequence. You must apply the eye collyrium, then the nasal drops, then the gargling, and then the smoke inhalation. Why is the order of operations so heavily enforced?
What's fascinating here is the sheer hydraulic engineering of the human skull that they mapped out.
Hydraulic engineering.
Yeah. Every action in this sequence intentionally disrupts the local equilibrium to clean an organ, and the subsequent action is designed to fix that specific disruption.
Oh, wow.
When you apply the collyrium to the eyes, you agitate the kapha, you stir up the mucus and fluids. That excess fluid has to go somewhere, and it naturally drains into the nasal passages.
So you immediately follow it with the nasal drops to clear the nasal passages.
Correct. But introducing oil in the nasal passages can increase vata, the principle of air and movement, in the upper respiratory tract.
Yeah.
To calm that newly aggravated vata, you immediately follow with the heavy grounding practice of gargling, which creates hydrostatic pressure and stabilizes the oral and sinus cavities.
But then the gargling leaves something behind too, right?
Exactly. Gargling can leave residual moisture and kapha in the throat, so you execute the final step, inhaling the medicated smoke, which dries up the residual moisture, fully opening and clearing the entire respiratory pathway.
It is a closed loop. I mean, every single intervention solves the biological problem created by the intervention before it.
You're brilliant.
You are systematically sweeping the debris from the eyes, down the nose, into the throat, and then incinerating it with smoke.
It is a cascading calibration. You don't just clean an organ and walk away. You manage the downstream physiological consequences of that cleaning.
Incredible. So we've filtered the sensory inputs. The regimen now transitions to energy output and resource management. We move down from the head to the actual physical chassis of the body through a massage, exercise, and bathing.
The structural maintenance phase.
Right. You start with Abhyanga, a daily oil massage. The text says this delays aging and mitigates vata, which is predominantly lodged in the skin. You are instructed to focus heavily on the head, the ears, and the soles of the feet.
Well, vata governs the nervous system, and the skin is our largest tactile sensory organ. By deeply oiling the skin, specifically the extremities and sensory hubs, where nerve endings are most concentrated, you are insulating the nervous system from the hyperstimulation of the external environment.
That makes sense. Then we get to exercise, or vyama. The text acknowledges that exercise brings lightness, boosts digestion, and firms the body.
Yes, it has its place.
But this is where Vagbhata completely rejects modern fitness culture. We operate on a, push past your limits mentality. But this text heavily regulates exertion.
Heavily.
It mandates that during the cold and spring seasons, strong individuals should only exercise to exactly half of their capacity. In other seasons, even less. It warns that excessive exercise or even too much talking and laughing will destroy the body, quoting, as a lion fights with an elephant and dies.
It is a profound metaphor for cellular thermodynamics.
How so?
The lion is an apex predator. It has immense power. But if it directs all of its vital energy into wrestling a massive elephant, the sheer metabolic exertion will kill the lion before the elephant even strikes a blow.
It reminds me of how we treat a smartphone battery. Modern hustle culture tells us to wake up at 100%, sprint through our day, work out intensely, and crash into bed at 1%.
Right.
But if you drain a lithium-ion battery to zero every day, its total capacity permanently degrades within a year. The text seems to be saying, never drop below 50%. You must preserve the baseline.
That's a common modern framing, but it actually falls a bit short of the severity of what Bhagavad is describing here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if your phone dies, you just plug it into the wall, and an hour later, you're back at 100%. This text argues that your foundational vital energy, what Ayurveda calls oshas, is not infinitely rechargeable.
Oh, so what is it like?
It is more like the structural integrity of a bridge. Excessive exercise, or even excessive talking and laughing, are acts of dispersion. You are throwing your vital essence out into the world.
I see.
If you constantly push the bridge to its maximum load-bearing capacity, microfractures form in the concrete. You can't just sleep for 8 hours and fix structural degradation.
So the burn that modern fitness celebrates is literally the combustion of your own lifespan.
Exactly. You are actively accelerating the wear and tear on your cellular machinery.
Which informs the immediate post-exercise routine. You perform Udvartana, a high-pressure massage, using fine powders rubbed in the opposite direction of the hair follicles to liquefy fat and stabilize the tissues.
Yes.
Then you bathe. Bathing increases appetite and strength, but there is a non-negotiable rule regarding temperature. Applying hot water to the body gives strength, but applying hot water to the head decreases the strength of the hair follicles and the eyes.
It is basic thermodynamics applied to neurology. Heat increases circulation and relaxes the large musculature of the body, which aids in recovery.
But the head is different.
Very different. The brain and the delicate sensory organs of the head are highly metabolic. Applying external heat to an already highly active thermal center accelerates the degradation of those tissues. You keep the engine block warm, but the central processor must remain cool.
The logic is airtight. But this brings us to the final major shift in the regimen, and this is where the definition of medicine drastically expands.
Yes, the behavioral aspect.
We transition from physical hygiene to behavioral output, what the text calls sadvrta, the regimen of right conduct. Because in this paradigm, having a perfectly oiled nervous system and pristine eyes is entirely useless if your behavior is toxic. Physical health is impossible without dharma, or moral conduct.
The separation between mind and body simply does not exist here. How you engage with your community is treated as a highly potent medical intervention. It carries the exact same physiological weight as the bitter twig or the nasal oil.
The text outlines the 10 sinful acts that must be strictly avoided. Sins of the body, like cruelty and stealing, sins of speech, like slandering, and sins of the mind, like hatred and jealousy.
Standard moral guidelines, mostly.
Right. It mandates keeping away from both overattachment and total indifference. And there is a profound call for radical compassion, instructing the reader to consider even insects and ants as ourselves.
Yeah, profound empathy.
But woven into these broad moral edicts are incredibly peculiar, hyper-specific rules of etiquette. Listen to these. Do not sneeze, laugh, or yawn without covering your face. Do not scratch the earth without purpose.
The specific rules are fascinating.
They really are. Do not sit in a squatting position for a long time. Avoid people the king hates. Do not swim across rivers using only your hands. And when walking with an umbrella, keep a 2-meter distance from others.
On the surface, it reads like a disjointed list of ancient superstitions.
Right. So what does this all mean? How does scratching the dirt with a stick, or keeping your distance with an umbrella, relate to the equilibrium of your bodily tissues? Are these just safety guidelines to keep you from drowning or poking someone's eye out? Or is there a medical mechanism at play?
This raises an important question about the somatic mechanics of stress. We know today that chronic behavioral stress elevates cortisol, which suppresses immune function and creates systemic inflammation.
Yeah.
Bhagavad observed the same physiological breakdown, but mapped it through the doshas. Look closely at those specific prohibitions. Aimlessly scratching the earth. Fidgeting. Swimming a fast river with no equipment. Associating with political targets.
They're all highly chaotic, dysregulated behaviors.
Precisely. They are the physical manifestations of an untethered, agitated mind. In Ayurveda, the mind and the Vata dosha are intimately linked.
The movement principle again?
Right. If your mind is chaotic enough to take unnecessary risks in a river or to mindlessly scratch at the dirt, your autonomic nervous system is in a state of low-grade panic. If your behavior is erratic, your internal physiology will perfectly mirror that erraticism.
So covering your mouth when you yawn or giving someone space when you carry an umbrella, these aren't just polite societal manners.
No, they are forced mindfulness. They are somatic anchors.
Somatic anchors.
Yes. Think about it. To maintain a 2-meter distance with an umbrella, you have to be acutely aware of your physical dimensions, your surroundings, and the people occupying space near you. You cannot be on autopilot.
You have to be totally present.
It demands intense presence. The text is using physical etiquette to force the mind into a state of calm observation, because an anchored, calm mind allows the internal humors to settle into equilibrium.
For an intelligent person, the whole world is a guide or a teacher. That quote from the text perfectly encapsulates this. Every interaction is an opportunity to calibrate your nervous system.
You are in constant dialogue with your environment, and every single action is a biological input.
To bring all of this together, this startup sequence is just staggering in its scope. We began by waking in the pre-dawn darkness to catch the biological wave of motility.
Yes.
We checked our internal digestion before applying bitter, astringent chemistry to our gums. We mapped the hydraulic pathways of the skull, systematically drawing out stagnation from the eyes down to the throat.
And clearing it with smoke.
Exactly. We oiled our sensory hubs, restricted our exercise to preserve our baseline cellular integrity, and utilized thermal gradients in our bath. And finally, we anchored our nervous system through force mindfulness, whether by safely navigating a river or practicing radical empathy for an ant on the path.
It is an absolute masterclass in viewing the human being not as a machine with replaceable parts, but as a deeply integrated ecosystem.
It demands a total shift in perspective. For you listening right now, the takeaway isn't that you need to go forage for an arca plant twig tomorrow morning or map the exact 14th Muhurta of the night.
No, not literally.
The underlying principle is that there are no neutral actions. Every single thing you do, the way you hold your jaw, the temperature of the water on your head, the amount of energy you expend laughing, the way you treat the person walking next to you, is actively constructing or dismantling your physiological health.
It removes the illusion that health is something you purchase or achieve in a 1-hour gym session. It is the cumulative result of thousands of micro-decisions made for the very moment you open your eyes.
Which brings us all the way back to our modern biohacker in the ice bath. We spend so much time searching for extreme external shocks to the system to force our bodies into compliance. But this centuries-old manual asks us to look at the invisible architecture of our normal day.
It's a much quieter but much more powerful approach.
So I want to leave you with this thought to explore on your own today. If a foundational medical text dedicated an entire chapter to the precise chemistry of your toothbrush, the exact order you clear your sinuses, and the way you hold an umbrella, what hidden, mindless habits in your own modern daily routine are quietly degrading your structural integrity right now without you even realizing it?